Latino X Radio is making a splash in South Jersey. It's a true community radio station, and we learn why the Latino vote is so important in 2020. It's all here on the next Latino Motion. Join us.
Choose to get lost in the woods to gain experience in forest management.
Choose to travel through time to understand the past.
Choose to soar to pursue a career in dance.
Stockton University offers 50 high-quality academic programs, small class sizes, and affordable tuition. Choose to match your interests and talents at one of New Jersey's nationally ranked universities.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation, and Stockton University. This edition of Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is brought to you by the HD Studios at the campus of Stockton University. Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare, a member of Geisinger, Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world, and South Jersey Gas. Welcome to Latino Motion, a weekly interview show highlighting issues impacting New Jersey's Latino community while advancing understanding of Latino cultural heritage and contributions to our society. And here is your host, Bert Lopez.
Buenos dias and welcome to Latino Motion. I'm happy to have as my guest, Michael Coupeles. He wears a lot of hats, but he's here representing Latino X Radio. Michael, welcome to Latino Motion.
Thank you, Bert, for having me here.
And I know you're on the road. You got your nice, beautiful virtual background. I appreciate you taking the time to join us here at Latino Motion. Latino X Radio is exploding down here. It's a non-profit radio providing music and entertainment, but also providing some social responsibility and being connected to our community. Tell me how this came about and the scope of the radio.
Well, as Jonathan Santana, the president of Latino X Radio, mentions it started actually at the Texas Avenue Park. A group of young fellows got together with an idea on how to actually be able to give back to the community. And we thought that the Latino community lacks the ability to connect through communication. And that's how Latino X Radio started. I got added to the group, and other people got added to the group, and the idea started flowing where we wanted to actually help the community be able to have a medium that were pretty much is not costing them anything at all, and provide the information that needs to be provided.
So tell me, the scope of the radio, I mean, it's a nonprofit. Give me a little bit a sense of the lineup. What kind of coverage do you have? And I know we just did one on getting out the vote, which we'll talk a little bit later on the program, which is very important. And you had some community leaders. But what other type of programs are you showcasing as part of the show?
So part of what we're doing for the community is we are engaging the businesses that are out there in the Latino community and that are hurting at this time, and they cannot afford probably to do advertisement or have their menus reinvented, or maybe they need photography for their meals, so that way they could showcase them. So we are able to actually volunteer our time, our effort, our energy towards that, and it's costing them pretty much nothing. So right now we are actually helping El Gran Chalán, which is actually a Peruvian restaurant in the area of Atlantic City, and also El Hondureño. And we are in the talks of talking to other restaurants to bring that. Furthermore, we're actually collaborating with Cultura Unida, which is one of our most exciting collaborations that we're doing, who's another nonprofit, because we think that it's actually essential for the Latino to be aware on how to vote and to go out there and place the voice and the pressure that they need to place.
Now, I know that, to make money or to continue to maintain, you need to make money, but you decided to make this a non-profit. why was it important to do that as opposed to, selling ads and getting revenue that way?
Well, we have studied the community, and we understand that a lot of different radio stations have actually come to Atlantic City and reached out to the Latino community. But what they have actually done is they have hurt the community by utilizing them and marketing them not properly, and then they leave them stranded. So we think that Atlantic City needs the Latino community in Atlantic City needs their voice lifted at this time. And Latino X Radio is here to do that. We are of the community and for the community.
So let's talk about how people access the radio station, right? It's all digital, it's all online.
Yes.
So tell me, how do people access it?
So you want to go over to www.latinoxradio.net, and you are able to actually download the application there for your smartphone. We're in the process of actually getting one for the Apple phones. So the Android-based phones, they could actually get it on their phone, or you could simply play it on your computer at this time. You can also follow us in Facebook, Instagram, where we actually engage the community by letting them know everything that's actually going on. We are in collaborations with different entities in the state. So we get the information straight from different entities. So we know where the food banks are going to happen, when they're going to happen. And we usually share that information. We are actually inviting anyone that needs that type of support to come and reach out to us, that we are there for the community and trying to connect them by being the medium that actually supports the community.
So, un programa para la comunidad. Perfecto, bien bonito. Tell me, Michael, what kind of reaction have you gotten? I know that we're all excited, those of us that are involved out in the community, we're excited that this avenue has opened up, particularly it's in Spanish, and there's a great deal of folks here who can't get the local news, local information locally, have to get it out of Philadelphia. Tell me a little bit about the reaction you've gotten to the introduction of Latino X Radio.
So far, with people that have actually been able to listen to what the project is and have been part in meetings with the executive teams, they love the idea. They actually want to be part of it at different levels. And we're very excited. We're about to create something that is going to be for generations to come, that is here to stay. This vision is actually larger than us. And this is why we actually like it and took up on it. It's a great cause. We got great leadership, excellent board of directors that are leading us towards a better future for the Latino X community.
And just for disclosure, I'm happy to be one of the board members. And recently, Pedro Santana just got elected as the chairman to serve on the board. And certainly, I think you do have a great offering. How do people get a hold of you if they want more information, if they want to partner, get their restaurant, their organization noted in the radio and announced? What should they do?
Sure. They could actually email us at admin, that's ADMIN, at latinoxradio.net. Send us an email. We will follow up right away, and we'll set up an appointment with you. And we want to hear about your ideas, because this is, as I said, for the community and of the community. So it is your ideas that we want to actually highlight and amplify, so that way it reaches the whole community within the Atlantic County area.
So I know we got less than a minute and a half, but this is not the only hat you wear. You also work for Gateway Community Action Partners, and you're also an ordained minister. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. I work for Gateway Community Action Partnership as the Male Initiative Coordinator. I'm also the first Latino to ever be elected to the school board of Ventnor City, and the first ethnic as well. I'm also an ordained minister and a ordained chaplain. And I belong to the foster grandparents. I'm the president of the Foster Grandparent Advisory Committee. So I do a lot for the community. So I'm very involved. And I just want to make sure that we're striving as we're out there, that our voices are being heard, and that we're at the table making the decisions that actually impact our community for the better.
Thank you. And on behalf of the community, thank you. Thank you for your service. I think you're doing a great job. And we keep running into each other and serving the community is so important. So again, thank you. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Thank you. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. I'm happy to announce my next guest, Wilfredo Rojas. He is here to talk about going out and voting, very important. He's vice president of the NAACP. He's also been responsible for a voter project. Wears a number of hats. Wilfredo, welcome to Latino Motion.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Bert.
Hey, I know that me and you have had a lot of discussion of the importance of the Latino vote, and I covered this on the show. I've done Zoom meetings about this. It's so important. Tell me your perspective, how critical the Latino vote is, particularly in this election.
Well, first of all, the Latinos are millions and millions of Latinos in the United States of America. We might be divided by geographically, but we're united by culture. Many Latinos culturally are connected because of our language, because of our culture, and because of our shared heritage. It is very important at this time in history. If ever the Latino vote is going to make a difference, it's going to be in the year 2020. However, because of the pandemic and the voter suppression that is happening across the country, it is very, very important that Latinos get their ballots, find out where the drop-off points are, and also find out where the polling places are going to be this election. But there's a lot of trickery going on in different states. They're trying to suppress the Latino vote because they know we can make a difference in who gets elected to the highest office in the land right now.
Yeah, and we see on the news, you see people waiting up to 12 hours in line to cast a vote. We're fortunate here in New Jersey where we don't have those restrictions, where there is acceptance for the mail-in ballots, and there are sufficient drop-off boxes, plenty of opportunities for folks to vote. And however, there's still those individuals who just are waiting to the last minute, folks who need to be motivated to vote. What do you tell those individuals who are sitting at home, have not cast their vote? Why should they bother to go and vote?
Well, Latinos in general, particularly in our slice of the United States of America and South Jersey, in the state of South Jersey, we have one of the most highest incidents of COVID infections and one of the most highest incidents of death among people from COVID. So it is very important. What's on the ballot this year, it's not so much the candidates, but it's how do we deal with this pandemic that is killing Latinos disproportionately and is also infecting Latinos disproportionately. So this is one of the most important elections. Economically, a lot of our are suffering because they're not able to operate like they were before. Families are suffering with their children at home because the children cannot go to in-person classrooms. We're doing everything remotely. And it's so important that there's a lot of issues. The immigration issue, where we just won a battle here in the state of New Jersey to allow immigrants, undocumented immigrants, to get their driver's license. And now that has been scaled back because of the issue of the pandemic. So it's very important that we vote. It's very important that we understand the mechanics of the vote. But not so much voting, but mechanically, when you get that ballot in your home, if you don't understand it, please find somebody to help you understand it. You can get assistance from someone to help you, and particularly fill out the ballot, put it in the small envelope, put it in the big envelope, but most importantly, sign it the way that it's addressed on the envelope to you. Because like I said, there's going to be a lot of trickery, and there's going to be a lot of looking into individual ballots, because there's going to be such a close race. I don't take it for granted. I don't pay attention to the polls. I think that people should vote like we're behind, and vote and get your families to vote. Now, the most important thing is we have a lot of undocumented workers in the state of New Jersey. Those undocumented workers pay taxes, they contribute to the economy, but they need someone to carry their water. Puerto Ricans, particularly, that are registered to vote, we have an obligation, we have a duty to help our brothers and sisters from Latin America, Central America, the Caribbean. We have an obligation to support them the way we were supported by other communities that came before us.
And it's funny you mentioned that the Puerto Rican vote is very important. And one of the things that Puerto Ricans share is, even though we were born in Puerto Rico as U.S. citizens, when we came to the mainland, we were still viewed as immigrants. I remember my first trip to the United States as a child to Massachusetts, and the way that I was treated back then, the same way that some immigrants are treated today. They looked down upon and discarded. And so we have that share experience, certainly with the immigrants that are coming from other parts of Latin America. What do you tell those individuals, particularly the Puerto Rican community? They had voted in Puerto Rico, and it seems to be a lot more of a thing to do there than it is here. Any idea why there's such a difference?
Well, I think that a lot of politicians don't reciprocate. After Puerto Ricans vote them in, they don't reciprocate by allowing them to find good employment, providing services to them, and they're basically ignored until the next election. So what I'm telling the people that are watching this program today is we have to hold them accountable. Once we vote for individuals that said and promised that they would help us, we need to hold them accountable, and we need them to reciprocate to us what they promised during the election season. And I think that if we do that right up front, we let them know that we expect something for our vote that is that's going to help us raise our families, that's going to help us economically, that's the message that we have to take to these elected officials.
Tell me a little bit about the NAACP that you're also part of as a vice chair there with Loretta Winters in Gloucester County. Tell me a little bit about the efforts you're doing to make sure that people of color go out and vote.
Well, the African American community from the very beginning has been a community. If anybody's going to lead the civil rights movement in this country, it's going to be Black people, because they have been the most discriminated, most oppressed, and most brutalized community of color in this country. And they have learned that through the ballot box, by voting, they've been able to accomplish many things that they wouldn't have accomplished had they not used the power of their vote to elect people to office that's going to, again, reciprocate and give back to those communities that put them in office.
Well, you know that vote wasn't there in 2016. People of color, the Latino community, did not come out the way they should have in 2016. You think that this time around is going to be different?
If the primary election this year, 2020, compared to the primary election in 2016 in South Jersey, if those numbers hold up, I think we almost tripled the number of people that participated in 2016 primary election.
Well, that's great. That's great news. We want to cover a little more about this. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion. Welcome back to Latino Motion. We continue our discussion with Wilfredo Rojas, Vice President of the NAACP, as well as quite a number of other hats. But Wilfredo, I know that you and the NAACP there in Gloucester County and Loretta Winters have done a great job in educating voters how to go and vote. Can you walk us through a little bit about the mail-in process? And we know that we get the envelope that comes in the mail. What's the process to go through that?
All voting in the state of New Jersey is going to be done via mail. So you're going to get a letter addressed with the ballot inside. It's going to be addressed to every registered voter.
Yeah, I have the ballot here, so let me put that up. This is the ballot.
Now, as you look at the ballot, you can only vote for one person for each office. So you're going to get a black or a blue pen, and you're going, that little bubble there, you're going to pencil it in with your pen to indicate the person that you're voting for. That's in the front of the ballot. The back of the ballot is different questions that will be voted on. So you go to the back and you do the same thing. You vote yes or no on the questions. And then once you've done that, you fold the ballot.
Fold it.
You're going to get your ballot envelope, which is the smaller envelope. You're going to fill out the information in the front of the envelope.
You'll take the ballot and put it inside, right?
I'm going to put the ballot inside. Then after you sign it, you're going to put it in the bigger envelope. You got to seal it. It's got to be sealed.
Yeah, make sure you keep the flap in. That's needed. So this is where you seal it right there. Moist here, right? You close that,
right?
And then it goes inside
the
this
big envelope.
Okay, and we'll do that and make sure that the address window is showing out.
And then you can do one of two things. You can authorize someone to drop it off for you at a drop box, but you have to give them authorization in the back, or you can just sign it and put it in the mailbox, or take it yourself to a drop off.
So this is the window. You want to make sure your address is showing there. It's sealed, and then this is where you would indicate if someone is going to deliver that for you.
Right.
Okay.
And you have to sign it, and you have to print your name also. Okay, and then it's over. Then you have voted, and you get a little sticker.
Now, there are drop-in boxes throughout South Jersey that you could drop off your ballot, and we'll put up the list for Atlantic County locations where you could drop off the ballots. Can you also vote the day of? Can you also drop it off the day of? That's November 3rd. What options do you have there?
You can drop it off at the voting place on November 3rd. The day, if you prefer to go and vote by person, it's not encouraged because of COVID. But if you do decide to go in person, you are to wear a mask to protect others and protect yourself from COVID. And you can do it that way. And you'll probably now you should take your ballot with you to the location, because you'll be voting twice if you vote there and you also mail it. So you should take your ballot with you to your polling place.
Now, there is a website that you could check to see if you are registered. So if you didn't get a ballot in the mail, you could still see if you are registered, maybe got lost for whatever reason. And then in that instance, you could call the county or go to the county office. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And they would give you the opportunity to vote as well.
Yes.
I also want to put up Comunidad Unida. They also have a website with a lot of information to educate folks about voting, and a lot of that information, it's available in Spanish. So feel free to take advantage of that. Victor Moreno, who's been on the show before, has discussed the great efforts that this organization is taking to making sure that people are educated and to exercise their right to vote. Let's just switch topics a little, because in the ballot, what we didn't discuss, there's also local board, school boards. You mentioned the questions in the back, and some people ignore that part of the process, but Obviously, we pay taxes to local school boards. It's also important that we vote on those individuals who are running for school boards. Tell me a little more about that.
Well, school board are like any other election, and people are elected, some for 3 years, some for 2 years, some for 1 year. But the members are elected to that school board are very important in setting the policy for the education of your children. So those elections are just as important as the election for president, for Congress, and for state senator, because they're the policy makers who decide on policy for all the specific schools in South Jersey.
And it's important that we get more Latinos engaged in the school boards as well. I was the first Latino on the school board in Atlantic City, and Michael Cupeles, who was on the show earlier, he is the first Latino to serve in the Ventnor school board system. It's important to have that representation at the school and to be accounted for as well to help in the education of our children.
And if I just want to point out, depending on the number of electorate from the Latino community that vote, we can actually create a political muscle going forward, so we can get more of the piece of the pie that's being cut at the federal level and the local levels and the state levels. So we have to exercise our political muscle. And once this election is over, evaluate how we voted. Like, I know we voted big in the primary election. We need us to redouble that vote in the November 3rd election.
So I know this is a presidential year, but we also have Congress, U.S. Senate, Congress as well. And there's a lot to consider in those elections as well.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right.
Let's take a moment for people who might be interested in seeking office and getting more engaged in terms of their community and politics. What would you suggest they do?
Well, the first thing they need to do is get themselves a good treasurer, somebody, because you're going to need money. You need money. There's two things that you need to run an election. You need money and you need votes. And money will get you the votes, because you're going to need advertising. So you have to get a good treasurer that's going to file all the paperwork on time and is going to account for every penny that comes into the campaign coffers. So that's the first thing you got to do. Get yourself a very good, reliable treasurer.
Yeah, and so that's really part of the getting educated part, right? So it's not just filling a petition and running. You really want to get yourself prepared, and obviously making sure you have the financial piece of it in order is very important. Always enjoy talking with you, Wilfredo. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on Latino Motion, and I want to thank our audience at home once again for being a part of our day here at Latino Motion.
Choose to get your feet wet, to learn more about protecting our environment.
Choose to read minds, to understand the human brain.
Choose to get your hands dirty, to create a masterpiece.
Stockton University offers 50 high-quality academic programs, small class sizes, and affordable tuition. Choose to match your interests and talents at one of New Jersey's nationally ranked universities.
Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare, a member of Geisinger; Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world; and South Jersey Gas.